2018, France has just won the Football World Cup. It's party time in Paris, but here in India, not many were excited. Argentina and Brazil are the usual favourites. Since neither of them were playing, there wasn't much to celebrate. But there was one exception. A tiny town around 50 kilometers from Kolkata, the town of Chandanagar. The locals there were celebrating as if they had some special connection with the French. Well, actually they did. Chandanagar was once a French colony. If you walk around, you will know immediately the architecture, the design, it's all unmistakably French. Most people in Chandanagar today were born in free India, but the town tells a much older story. The story of France's relationship with India, from colonizer to friend to strategic partner. But where did it all begin? Time for a flashback. The 17th century is a good place to start. The Mughal Empire is ruling India, the British and the Dutch have already set up shop. France was late to the party, by decades in fact. There were individual travelers and pilgrims, but nothing substantial. One name that stands out is Francois Bernier. He was a French doctor. He spent 12 years in India as Emperor Aurangzeb's physician. The French saw what other Europeans were doing. Their trade with India was very lucrative. So what did they do? They tried to compete with the British and the Dutch. In 1664, the French East India Company was set up. This man masterminded the whole thing, Jean-Baptiste Colbert. He was the finance minister of King Louis XIV. Colbert had a tough time setting things up. You see, France was already late to India, so investors were hard to find. In the end, King Louis became the company's biggest funder, and thus the expeditions began. The Mughals gave them permission to trade. The first French trading post was set up in Surat in the year 1667. Within 5 years, they got two important territories. One was to the east, the town of Chandanagar. The company purchased this land from the Nawab of Bengal. It was permanently settled by 1688. The second territory was to the south, Puducherry. In 1637, the French got permission from the Sultan of Bijapur. The next year, a French governor was appointed. This man, Francois Martin. Now don't think about the Puducherry of today. Back then, it was a small fishing village. Martin drew up big plans for it. He wanted Puducherry to become the chief French settlement in India, and eventually that's what happened. Despite all this, France could never match the British. Their expeditions were too costly, their ships needed constant repairs, and most importantly, they were playing catch-up. The British and the Dutch kept raiding French ships and settlements. In fact, the Dutch captured Puducherry in 1693. They held on to it for almost 6 years. The next century, the 18th, was also eventful. The French East India Company was reorganized under a different name. France had a major economic crisis in 1720. The original East India Company was a casualty of it. The revived one had some success though. They set up 3 more French settlements, Mahe, Yanam and Karaikal. As you can see, all 3 are located in different parts of southern India. Today, they're all ruled by the same government, the Union Territory of Puducherry. But more on that later. In the mid-18th century, French India got a new boss, Joseph Francois Dupleix. He lived and breathed colonialism. He saw that India's ruling princes were vulnerable, so he used them to plot against the British. In some cases, he was successful. Like in 1746, when he managed to capture Madras, his strategy was quite simple. Find out who the British are rooting for, then support their rival. But Madras was an exception. In most cases, the French suffered defeats. And one reason for that was Dupleix's chief rival, Robert Clive of Britain. If you think about it, France and Britain were fighting a proxy war in India, but pretty soon there was nothing proxy about it. In 1756, the 7 Years' as War broke out. France and Britain were fighting each other. Some of that spilled over into India. The British besieged and captured Puducherry in 1761. They would do so again, twice. By then, Britain was firmly established in India. They had nothing to fear from the French. In fact, the French East India Company had disappeared. The French Revolution gobbled it up. So in 1816, Britain returned the old French settlements. They got a local government. They also had seats in the French Parliament. During India's freedom struggle, France played an interesting role. These French settlements became safe houses for freedom fighters. You see, this territory was not British India, so they could not be arrested from there. Sri Aurobindo, for example, settled in Puducherry. He also set up his ashram there. But in 1947, France had to make a call. Do they hold on to the settlements or give them up? They decided to let the people choose. In 1948, a referendum was held in Chandarnagar. 97% people wanted to join India. 2 years later, it was officially merged. Today, it's a part of the state of West Bengal. Puducherry had to wait a little bit longer. Their elected representatives also voted to join India. So in 1954, Puducherry was liberated. Thus ended the long chapter of French colonialism in India. But what's been the story since then? Bilateral relations have been largely good. Defense was and remains a key part. Since the 1960s, India has bought a lot of French tech, especially aircraft, like the Mystère, the Elise, the Mirage, and now the Rafale. Unlike the US, France has been more reliable. In fact, let me tell you a story from 1982. India's Tarapur power plant needed nuclear fuel. The Americans had promised to give it, but as usual, they bailed. They had reservations about India's nuclear program. Guess who stepped in to help? France. They supplied uranium fuel to Tarapur. After the Cold War, things went into an overdrive. One leader played a key role in those events: French President Jacques Chirac. He came to India in the year 1998. He also refused to sanction India after the nuclear tests. During that visit, India and France elevated their ties. They became strategic partners. And as they say, the rest is history. Today, you could say France is India's most reliable partner in Europe, for trade, for defense, even for political support. And one reason is that France is also an Indian Ocean power. They have a territory called the Reunion Island. It hosts French military assets who often link up with India.